a Medicine Buddha. Thank you so much. So wherever you are popping on, welcome. And let's take a moment to check on your motivation for meditation right now. This is a unique opportunity to transform the mind, to work with the mind. I know it's not easy, but even a little bit every day, if you're not able, this is an hour session, but you can make it much shorter in your own life so that it fits in, because it's a great foundational basis for all of us to do our daily activities. So thank you so much for joining. So take a moment as you close your eyes, and however you are seated, in a chair, on a cushion on the floor, all of it is fine. If you're in a chair, have your feet straight down and not crossed, with the soles flat on the floor or on a cushion under your feet, and feel the grounding with yourself in the position that you're in, and the grounding with Mother Earth, as if there are roots of support coming from the earth. They're not holding us down, they're supporting us like branches of a tree. Just allow yourself to feel that basis of support. Because truly, the reason meditation is a tremendous asset to us is this support comes from within. We reach for so many external things to bring us happiness, and most of them are unreliable. So finding our own inner peace, inner guidance, letting that pervade, letting that, as we get more and more in touch with the more positive sides of ourselves and aspects from this practice, getting in touch with that deep inner voice that really, truly comes from our Buddha nature, that potential to become a fully realized being that we all share. So just allow your respiration to deepen for a moment. Let go of the external distractions. And we bring ourselves to a quieter, still place to get a better look at how our mind functions. And that's really a lot of meditation. How is my mind right now? So just have a look. How are you feeling right now? Can you have a look at that without any great sweeping judgments that this thought is good, this thought is not good? Just observe. And as you do this exercise right now, take a moment if you need to adjust your posture, your physical posture. But one of the most important things about your posture We often think of having the spine as extended as possible, as if the back is straight. Absolutely. But another key thing about your body and meditation is that the body is as relaxed as possible. You may want to start at the top of your head. Take a couple of minutes and scan down through your face, back of your head, neck, shoulders, torso, hips, all the way down through your legs, through your feet, out your toes. Just check different parts of the body. As I inhale, what needs a little bit more space right now in my body? As I exhale, what tension can I release in my body? Let's think now about the posture of the mind. As you look at your mind, let's try to direct a positive motivation which orients our mind in a more positive direction. In our tradition of Tibetan Buddhism, we're very interested in being of the most benefit to all living beings. Most benefit to, but think about it, all living beings. It's almost inconceivable, that space of mind. But if you become a Buddha, a fully awakened being, that's where you operate from. You're fully empowered. You're clairvoyant, have every perfect ability to know exactly what to say, think, or do for anyone at any given time. That's the purpose of your life. It brings you great joy, already to a mind that is merged with great bliss. Imagine that. You can get there, absolutely, but it does take effort. So we make a little effort today together. So take this moment and think about that bigger motivation to benefit all living beings. Can you create a motivation right now that may help orient you to moving along on that path to be able to get there as quickly as possible? Take a moment and set that motivation. And then bringing your awareness to your breath, a normal, natural breath. And if the mind wanders, which is perfectly normal as we train our mind, to be more concentrated, more focused. Simply observe if you've lost the object, the breath. Simply observe. Perhaps it's a sound. You can quickly label a sound or hearing, and back to the breath. Maybe it's a thought, an idea. Well, that's simply a thought or thinking. Back to the breath. Try your best. 5 minutes. Please relax. If you'd like, you can open your eyes slowly and just stay in your position. You could briefly look around the room, 10 or 20 seconds. If you're newer to meditation, it's best to start with short segments where you keep the mind fresh. Rather than sitting for long periods of time where you're just spacing out. Let's return to the breath. Again, some of you are familiar with counting the breaths. So an inhalation and an exhalation is one. See how far you can count before your mind wanders. And if it does, you just become aware. Bring the mind back to the breath and begin counting again at one from a relaxed place. So often if I'm leading a retreat, and sometimes people are there when you say meditation, you see them sitting in a very rigid posture. Shoulders, the brow is curled like that. Again, let's relax. Come from that space of the meditation comes organically. It's the natural state of your resting mind. Most of us are not at all familiar with that. We're so easily distracted from our phones, our technology. So we do the best we can. And this is a way of retraining or just allowing yourself every day, every week, this space. It's always there for you to do this work, which layers calming to your mind, focus throughout all of your work, happiness as we work to undo some negative, unnecessary behaviors in our mind and enhance the positive qualities. So as we go back to the breath, perhaps count the breaths. Again, one inhalation, one exhalation is one. See how far you can count before your mind wanders. If it does, bring the mind back to the breath and begin counting again at one. Try your best, 5 minutes. So now instead of just focused on the breath, as you try to focus on the breath, notice what distractions come. And just begin to follow the thoughts, the bubbles of thoughts that come up. Just notice how one thought turns into another thought. It creates another idea, another mental activity, and another mental activity. Just notice that process for a moment. What's the essence of every thought? Where do the thoughts come from? So each thought is very fleeting. Isn't it interesting how we place importance on certain thoughts and less on others? When we place importance on certain thoughts, they appear to take up more space in our mind. We tend to think about those thoughts more often and begin to make a habit in our mind. So you may ask yourself, what thoughts would you like to have in your mind? Which thoughts would you like to lessen in your mind? It's possible to do that through training your mind. So just observe now as you watch these thoughts. If you notice that any of them that come up are unpleasant, something you'd rather not be thinking about or having in your mind, can you let it go more quickly? Watch that bubble float off and perhaps bring up a thought that's more positive. Bring something to mind that's more positive. Maybe an image of the Buddha, an image of your teacher, an interaction with your teacher that you really enjoyed, a happy feeling or memory, perhaps something you've done to serve others. And just watch that process. and check, where does the thought come from? Where does it seem to come from? Do you ever notice a space between the thoughts, between the ideas and distractions and mental activity? Can you find a space there between them? And instead of focusing on the thoughts, focus on the space instead. There is a space of awareness there that is your mind. See if you can find that space and focus on that. If it's challenging, go back to the breath. Just building concentration there. So just return to the breath and slowly bring yourself back to your space and relax and open your eyes. And if you'd like to make any adjustments in your posture, just take a moment. Our next part of the meditation, we're going to go to this very famous Lojong text. Lojong is mind training. We've been using this for a few of the meditations, short exercises, how to train the mind and how to work with suffering, because right now there's a lot of suffering on the planet, as we know. Some have it in everyday life. So if we can have a different attitude toward suffering, it can completely transform your mind. And again, this is a short text called Turning Suffering and Happiness into Enlightenment. This root text from Jigme Tempe Nima. Can you imagine turning suffering and happiness into enlightenment? And it begins with a homage, as many texts do, which is basically paying respect to the Buddha that may have motivated them. In this case, it's the Buddha of compassion, Avalokiteshvara in Sanskrit, Chenresig in Tibetan, the Buddha of infinite compassion. And so in this text, it starts with, I pay homage to the noble Avalokiteshvara, recalling his qualities. Always happy at the happiness of others, and deeply saddened when they suffer. One who has fully realized the qualities and understanding of great compassion, and who rejects both his own happiness and suffering. Just think about that incredible space of the Buddha of compassion. And recently, I'd like to dedicate our practices today to a dear friend, Alea Riddell, and she passed away just about a week ago in southern France. And so she was also connected to His Holiness, a student, and His Holiness sent a message when they were doing her memorial service that said that as she has a connection to me, then he said for people not to worry because Avalokiteshvara would take care of her. This is the Buddha, again, of infinite compassion. So it was a very comforting message to everyone and all the people who are friends with Alea. So we're going to turn back to, in this text, how we transform suffering. And last week we were looking at letting it train us in taking proper refuge. So we're going to move on with some other points. Just close your eyes, sitting comfortably. What if we can use suffering to remove arrogance and pride? If that's something you suffer from, we suffer from it in various ways. Some people smaller amounts, some people larger amounts. But I'd like you to reflect right now as you close your eyes. Just reflect in the last week or month or another time in your life, some incident that happened with you and others or you and someone else, and you suddenly felt a little bit smug. You felt a little pride. This person was struggling, but you had everything good. You had it set. You had your situation worked out. You were all okay. And there was a little bit of this flutter in your mind of like, I'm great. I really got this sorted. Just try to reflect on a moment, past week or month, when this experience of pride arising in your mind, little bit of arrogance, we might call it. Little bit of haughtiness is another word in English. You're feeling a little bit better than this person or these beings around you. You have this situation. But it gets the mind into a little fluttery, off balance situation. Bring your mind into that space for a moment. Let's analyze. Analyze to decrease the arrogance and the pride, which doesn't serve us or anyone. Just explore for a moment the way in which you yourself have no freedom, okay? That you have no freedom. Okay? And what I mean by that is a lot of us in the West, and even during the pandemic, we have certainly a certain amount of freedom if you have housing and food and clothing and some sort of work or something that lends meaning to your life. But again, we weren't really free from possibly contracting COVID. We weren't necessarily free in who we could associate with freely. What shops, restaurants, gyms, anything like that we could do, the normal activities we were used to doing. What kind of freedom do you really have? What kind of freedom does your mind have every day? Please explore for a moment. Please reflect. So even though we may have some things very comfortable in the West, as we do, how much control do you have over your mind? Or is your mind pulled from one distraction to the next distraction? How much control do you have over your mind? Think about the arrogant moment or the situation you're reflecting on. Are we really any better than this person or this situation, than these beings? Until we have high realizations, aren't we always battered around between wanting this type of happiness and having it escape us? Having this sort of suffering and wanting to get rid of it, just like everybody else? Please reflect. Is that your situation? So when the suffering of pride or arrogance arises in your mind, some people are more prone to it than others. But when that arises in your mind, check again. Or you can do this meditation more often. I'm exactly the same as these other beings. I think I'm better than. Because I don't have any more control over my mind than they do. I may judge. I may have certain concepts about them and me. But go deeper. I don't have much more control over my mind. I can't keep myself from suffering. And happiness continues to evade me, any lasting happiness. It's always fleeting. Allow this reflection to keep your heart open. Just feel your core right now. We have Chenrezig's blessing in this meditation. The Buddha of infinite compassion. So feel that heart opening for you and these other beings you've just been reflecting about. Won't we like all of us to be free of suffering? Wouldn't that be amazing? All of us free of suffering, permanently. See in your mind if you can make a commitment in your mind, as best as you can in your life, to devote part of your daily activities to making that happen, to contributing to that, all of us being free of suffering. So what does that mean in everyday life? It could mean some regular meditation every day or every other day, so that I'm guiding my path to enlightenment, to then be unlimited to help. But in the meantime, it could mean basic kindness as much as possible, working on my own individual delusions like pride, like jealousy, fear, anger, attachment, finding the proper antidotes. Again, in your commitment, this next week, is there anything you're going to change up to have a little bit more going on, creating this space for you to dedicate some things to helping all of us be free of suffering? What does that mean to you? What would you like to commit yourself to doing this next week? Let's think of another exercise in viewing suffering, as we know, as a path to purify harmful, negative actions. Using suffering as a path to purify harmful, negative actions. Just reflect for a moment. Suffering will arise in life. It always does. It's part of samsara, part of samsaric existence, this cycle that we're turning through. Birth, old age, sickness, death. So it's inevitable that we'll experience some suffering. Let's use it wisely. It's a type of purification when we suffer. We don't want to bring about additional suffering. I'm not mentioning that. But let's just reflect. When the suffering arises, Tibetan Buddhism says it comes from our own harmful, negative actions. That's all. It comes from our harmful, negative actions. So let's reflect right now. And can you bring this into the face of suffering when you suffer again? Think about karma, the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect. Buddhism says everything comes from the mind. It's not external, it's not someone else's fault. That's a tiring path. This is not about blaming ourselves, it's simply about taking responsibility. With this suffering, unfortunate experience, you can think, I must have created the cause for this life or past lives. The cause must be in my mind, and now through the suffering, I hope I'm purifying the cause. I hope I'm purifying the cause. So bearing up under harsh circumstances as best as you can, really, in a sense, the meaning of patience, and just thinking about the infallibility of karma, cause and effect. Reflect, this must have come from my mind. Must have created the cause. Let it purify in this way then. As long as I can bear it, this is a type of purification. And if you want to review some suffering aspects of your past week or month, we can even look at the bigger global picture where there's tremendous suffering. Again, the reason we witness the suffering, if you don't like the suffering, the cause is in your mind to witness that, to have a world system with war, poverty, disease, pandemic. So think, the cause is in my mind. Maybe the cause is in my mind. And you can explore, where else do you think the cause is? What else causes the suffering, would you say, if it's not in your mind? And the reason I say it's in your mind is people have different views of suffering. Some people are happy when they see another person suffering. So, very different mindset. If the cause is in your mind, take a moment right now and reflect. Past week, past month, or year, or longer, just this life that we can remember. What are some negative tendencies you have, negative behaviors you do that become a habit that you can absolutely change now? Choose one. How would you like to change that behavioral pattern? Plan it out in your mind right now and really make a commitment that this is something you're going to focus on, begin to focus on this next week. You can do this, but you need to get clear on what you want to change first and find a realistic way to go about making that change. Don't have a sweeping thing of I'll never get angry again. It's unrealistic. I hope you're purifying your cause as well, Mary. People writing notes. So again, be realistic so that it's possible. You might say, I need the 5 to 10 minutes of meditation every day, every other day, to just begin to calm myself down, to watch my patterns. We're not bad people. Don't feel that way. We are not bad people. We're all fundamentally good. I truly believe that. We simply make mistakes because we're confused about the nature of reality. All living beings experience that confusion. That's why we suffer. That's why we bump up against each other in negative ways. So please, again, make a plan that's realistic. And maybe the plan grows, so you start with 1 week, and the next month you're able to go a little deeper into disengaging the pattern. Eventually, coming into deeper purification practices you can engage in at your own speed, at your own time. But please reflect and make a realistic plan. What are you going to change up to focus on one negative habit? What would you like to do about it? So please relax. Open your eyes slowly. Please give these topics some thought this week. If you notice arrogance or pride getting activated, if you notice there's a certain pattern going on for you you're really tired of, you can make the changes. It takes time. I know it's not easy. I'd like to dedicate the merit from any positive energy we've created from this meditation to really helping us counteract these negative tendencies. And please, let's do it with gentleness towards ourselves. That's how we do it. Not that we're bad, not that we've messed up, not that I'm doing it again, I'm awful. No, I'm a human being. I'm trying my best. The fact that you're even aware, the fact that you take time for meditation, incredible, incredible. Let's take all that wonderful energy. Let's invest it in our being able to set up very rich, consistent meditation practice that will benefit our hearts and minds. We'll be able to look at our own suffering in a different way. And rather than just diverting from it, turning in, folding in on ourselves, we'll actually be able to use it in the path to help us get enlightened more quickly so we can benefit all living beings. And again, dedicating to Alea, Ross Lasley, Jody Galt, Joanne Lemson, all the people that need additional healing right now on the planet. Thank you so much. Thank you to Land of Medicine Buddha. Thank you to Catherine. And if there's any questions, any confusion, anything anybody would like to ask for a moment, please. And feel free to unmute if you're in the Zoom room. You can also join us in the Zoom room at landofmedicinebuddha.org. So please feel free. And Catherine.
I'm greedy with questions, it seems. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to the kind of flip side of pride, because I know that's where I fall. And I know I've heard that it's the same thing, just flipped on its head. You know, when you kind of like think you're useless and inferior.
Yeah, the low self-esteem, absolutely, that people get into is the flip side of pride. It often comes from a lack of confidence or, verbal abuse from people around you for years and things like that, where you question. So what happens for some people from that space, over competition or ambition, is some people rise up and then they're just overly confident. I'm better than everyone, as a way to block. And then some people fold in on themselves and they say, I'm useless. So both of those mind states are exaggerated, incorrect mind states, as you know. So again, going back, we all have Buddha nature for one, and that means everyone with a consciousness has the potential, that has a mind, has the potential to become a fully realized being, an enlightened being. Okay, that includes you. So you have that potential, which is pretty grand. It also comes from a place of fundamental goodness. And I really believe that in everybody. So if we start over and over soaking our mind in that, when you notice the negative thoughts come in, I'm useless, I'm worthless, please check the story. Is the story accurate? So because the thing is, I live here with you on this property and work here with you, and I have a very different story about you that's very positive. You're very helpful. You help these meditations happen. You've helped Land of Medicine Buddha and other centers for a long, long time. You've helped your family. I find it all amazing. And so I have a very different mindset. So it's simply, again, one of those habits in the mind that tells us a different story that's simply inaccurate. So we have to keep poking those stories.
Yeah, it's very interesting when Jado Rinpoche was here, when I just got back from the UK. I had a dream that night, and it was totally me running this movie on myself of like being a not very good driver and not very good at this. And it's like a really strong dream. And I was like, this is like the blessings showing me what I do to myself. It was very interesting.
So it would be really helpful too, if self-compassion techniques, if you did some meditation on being your own best friend, like put yourself on a park bench next to yourself. But what I would do is first put a very dear friend next to you. Like if I was sitting next to you and said, Catherine, I'm having these horrible problems, you know, I'm useless. You know, what would you say to me? Right? So you
Yeah,
would
reality check.
immediately
Yeah.
be, so then the thing is, treat yourself like that, like a good friend. Like realize, like, and so put yourself, like, first notice what you'd say to me. Your tone of voice would be very gentle, very kind, very considerate. I'm sure you'd say very nice things to me, saying no, that you're not like that at all. And then slowly let me melt away and put yourself there. And you have to keep pushing through to say that to yourself, even if you need a hand on your heart. You know, this
Yeah.
is really hard right now, but this is, and
Yeah.
so over and over, just notice the tone of voice, and what, just watch the bubbles of those stories come up. You can pop them. They're not true, those stories. It's just a habit in your mind.
Yeah. Thank
Just
you.
a habit in your mind.
Yeah.
So someone in Zoom was saying, sorry, on Facebook, their breathing is very shallow. But wait, I'll go back to Catherine and just say, will you make me a deal and do that? Yes? Do I have your commitment? Because it's really, you know, I've known you for some years now, and let's do the work. Let's do it. You can
Yeah.
do it.
All right.
It'd be great for you because you have so many incredible qualities. That's what I see, and skills. So why not get free? Why not free yourself now? It's time.
Yeah, I'd like to. All
It's
right.
really time. You can do it.
All
So
right.
somebody on Facebook said they're breathing so shallow, it's hard for them to follow the breath. So again, you know, you might want to just increase the breathing then, if that helps you to follow the breath. You don't need to follow the breath though. You can put a little golden light. Sometimes I use, like outside the nostrils, a little golden drop of light. Follow that. If your mind's wandering, brighten the light. You know, sometimes we then get into an image of the Buddha. It's very uplifting for the mind, slowly, like that. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. We'll be back next Saturday. I hope you can join. And many blessings, and wishing you all the best. Thank you so much.